You're out on a hunt, running across uneven ground, when your foot catches a root you didn't see. You go down hard. You feel it before you hear it. A snap. White-hot pain up your leg. You try to stand, and it won't hold you. Today, that's an ambulance, a cast, 6 weeks on the couch. 50,000 years ago, that same snap was a death sentence. Not eventually, immediately. A broken leg with no modern medicine means you can't walk, can't run from a predator, can't reach water, can't follow the group when they move camp. And ancient groups moved constantly, chasing herds, chasing seasons. A person who can't walk gets left behind. And someone left behind, alone and immobile, doesn't last long. Every survival model says a badly broken leg should be fatal within days. Except archaeologists keep finding the exceptions. In 1957, in a cave called Shanidar in northern Iraq, researchers uncovered a Neanderthal man who lived roughly 45,000 years ago. His body was a catalog of catastrophic injuries. A crushed eye socket, likely blind on one side, a withered, partially amputated arm, severe fractures in his legs and feet. Here's the part that stops researchers cold. All of it was healed. Not fresh, not fatal. Healed. Meaning this man lived for years, after injuries that should have killed him within a week alone. A blind, one-armed man with a shattered leg cannot hunt, cannot dig for food, cannot walk long distances unassisted. And yet, he survived long enough for his bones to fully remodel. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because other people fed him, protected him, slowed down for him. This wasn't one sluchiny case. At La Chapelle-aux-Saints in France, another Neanderthal skeleton shows severe arthritis, tooth loss so extreme he couldn't chew solid food, and healed spine and hip injuries. Someone prepared soft, chewed-down food for him for years, for a man who could offer nothing back in return. So the real question isn't just what did they do about the break. It's why would a group already stretched thin, already fighting for calories, choose to carry someone who couldn't contribute at all? To understand what happened after the break, you have to understand what they knew about healing. They didn't understand bone or infection at a microscopic level, but they'd learned something through pure observation. Stillness heals, movement makes it worse. Many healed fractures in the archaeological record show clean, straight alignment, the kind you only get when a limb was kept immobile while it mended. That means someone was actively splinting these injuries, wood, bark, or stiffened hidebound tight around the limb. Egyptian mummies, over 4,000 years old, have been found with linen and wood splints still wrapped around healed breaks, a technique almost certainly inherited from far older traditions. But a splint alone doesn't explain survival. It keeps the bone straight. It does nothing about the weeks or months where you can't walk, hunt, or gather. That gap had to be filled by other people. Someone brought water. Someone brought soft food, meat cut small, marrow, anything that didn't need chewing or moving to get. Someone kept the fire close, so the injured person didn't freeze lying still for days. And there's evidence of actual wound care. Residue on stone tools, near injured remains, shows plant materials with natural antiseptic properties, and the same plant traces show up in the dental plaque of injured individuals, meaning they were treating wounds directly, using knowledge passed down the same way fire-making was. Here's why this matters more than one broken leg. For decades, evolutionary biology assumed something brutally simple. If you can't keep up, you get left behind. But the skeletal record keeps contradicting that. Over and over, in Neanderthal and early human sites alike, we find people who lived for years with injuries that should have made them a total burden, blind, missing a limb, unable to walk unassisted. That forces a different conclusion. Compassion, the willingness to carry someone who cannot give anything back, isn't a modern invention layered onto a naturally selfish species. It shows up in the fossil record before writing, before farming, before permanent homes. A starving group chose, again and again, to slow down for someone who couldn't walk. Not because it was efficient, because they didn't leave their own behind. That choice had real costs. Evidence suggests groups sometimes stayed in one shelter longer than usual instead of following the herd, accepting a worse food supply just to let someone heal. That's an enormous trade-off, with no safety net. And when the leg finally healed, badly set or not, it often left a permanent limp or shortened limb. That person probably never hunted the same way again. They likely shifted toward toolmaking, tending fire, teaching, watching children. An injury didn't end their usefulness. It just changed its shape. So what did ancient humans actually do with a broken leg? They splinted it with wood and bark. They treated wounds with plants. They'd learned work through trial and memory, stretching back generations. They fed the injured person food they didn't have to chew. They kept them warm and safe, and sometimes slowed their entire way of life down to protect one person who offered nothing back for months, sometimes years. And in a cave in Iraq, 45,000 years later, archaeologists pulled a skeleton out of the dirt and found a man who should have died in days. Blind in one eye, missing most of an arm, a leg shattered and healed. He lived for years in a world with no hospitals, no antibiotics, nothing except the people around him. That's not survival of the fittest. That's something we like to think we invented. Turns out, it's older than fire.